My name is Roman Peshke. I run a $13,000 a month AI automation agency, and I record these videos every day answering all your questions in the comments. And at the end, I'm going to show you the new OpenAI agent kit kind of interface here and some use cases that I think would be good for maybe making some money. But let's jump into the comments. Got, hey Roman, love your tattoo. Really cool design. Thank you, Sakshi. And in your experience, which channel, cold calling or paid ads, gives a higher return on investment for AI agencies and under what conditions? Yeah, so it depends, which is probably not what you want to hear. Also, we're going straw bango for today. Probably not what you want to hear, but there are two things to think about. There's return on investment, like think about money, return on money spent, and return on time spent. And so you have two wallets that you're going to pay with, either your time or your money. And cold calling or paid ads, that path you go down is determined on where you have more capital, more time capital, more money capital. So you will get a way better return on money investment from cold calling, sheerly because if it's just you doing it, it's like $0 in and an unlimited potential amount of money out. So if you're cold calling, let's say like if you cold call 1,000 businesses and you just get one person to agree to like a 10K project or like a 2K, a 4K, or a 10K project, that is $0 in and $10,000 out. It's a fantastic return on investment. The real cost there is the time you spent to get there. So making those 1,000 dials might have taken you like multiple days in order to kind of get that conversion on the back end. So that's option one, which is invest a bunch of time, get money, get a better return on money investment. Now, if you go the paid ads route, kind of inherently in the name, it's paid ads. So you're putting money in order to generate leads, and then some of those leads will convert and buy your $10,000 AI automation like setup package or whatever it is you're selling. So since you are putting $8 in or more, you are now just fundamentally getting a worse return on money spent because you have to put some sort of money in. I hope that is making sense. The other thing to look at though is your return on time spent. Now, with the cold calling example, you're putting in a ton of like front end time in order to generate the leads, and then you still have to follow the rest of the lead nurture and sales process afterwards. So it's a large chunk of time end to end. If you're doing paid ads, it's like an hour to set up ads if you know what you're doing. Then you plug in some money, and then you only have to handle the sales process after a lead has already opted in. So you chop off this giant block of time investment. So depends on so if you're thinking about which one to pick, you pick the one where you have a bigger wallet. Do you have a bigger time wallet or do you have a bigger money wallet? If you have not a lot of money, but a lot of time to spend, then you should go with cold calling, cold email, like manual cold email if you have like no money, cold DMs, that sort of stuff, because that's the currency that you have to spend. You have time that you can spend. Now, if you already have some clients, you have money coming in and you can afford to invest into ads and it makes sense because you need to free up your time for delivery or more sales calls, then it makes sense to go the paid ads route to recapture all of that lost time and put it into a higher leveraged opportunity within the business, whether that's taking the sales calls or doing the delivery itself. So those are the sort of two things you have to balance, your time and your money wallets. And then based on those, that's what determines which path you go down with the outreach strategy. So those are the conditions. I hope that helps. If you have any follow-ups, drop them down below. And anyone watching, if you have any questions about how to start, grow, scale in AI automation agency, or just any questions about life in general, you can drop them below any of these videos. And I make one of these every day, answering all the questions you guys have. All right, we got AI tools sometimes make mistakes. So with so many options like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity, how do you compare their reliability before using them? I lose all my trust in AI, and my whole assignment was ruined. So with ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity, I believe the hallucination rates are pretty much the same. Let's see. So I go based off of kind of the whatever the task calls for. So ChatGPT I've spent the most time with, and so that's what I kind of default to. But if I have something that requires a lot of context, I'll go with Gemini because it has the largest context window. And then if I have something that needs some more human sounding writing, whether it's like writing marketing materials, emails, videos, scripts for ads, that sort of thing, then I will go with Perplexity there because I've found that I just prefer those outputs. And those outputs, especially for like ad scripts and marketing emails, tend to outperform whatever outputs I'm getting from ChatGPT. And that's just kind of general across the board. So here we go. Oh, and Q4 2025 looks like Perplexity is winning out on the hallucination rate. But again, these might be, I would guess these are like if you're using the chat interface versus like a API call. So these might not be super contextual to what you are looking for. But again, if you're using something like N8N or make.com in order to kind of interface with these APIs, adding in things into the like system prompt, making sure that they're double checking their work and like putting in controls to not hallucinate, making sure the temperature on it is set correctly so that it's not going completely off the rails and making stuff up. Those will make large impacts. If you are just using it via like the chat interface, then I believe all three now have built-in tools to check their own answers. I know Gemini does for sure. I believe ChatGPT does too. I'm not as hands-on with Claude. But yeah, it's kind of like if you're going to use any of them, if it's for something really important where the facts cannot be wrong, it's taking that output and then doing a little bit of manual work to verify it yourself. And then as far as like what determines which model I pick, in general, it's super context dependent on the project I'm trying to get done there. General use, ChatGPT, just because I'm more familiar. Gemini, larger context window. Perplexity, more human-like writing outputs. All right, so now let us jump into Agent Kit. So I'm going to link this article in the comments below this video. What it is basically a agent workflow builder, kind of like N8N or Make, where it's all just hosted inside of the OpenAI platform here. So if you go to OpenAI.com and you log in to your account here, let's go back. If you go to OpenAI, you go log in. If you log into the API platform here, it'll drag you into here. Actually, let me show you the exact steps. So you log into the API platform, see the overview, and then you see right here, build with Agent Kit. You click on that, it'll give you this full breakdown. Then you click Open Agent Builder, and it'll take you to the correct page there. So what I'm going to use this for, it's fairly new, but you can see there, it's just drag and drop like anything else. You have the chat, you'll have a chat interface when you go to preview and use it. And then what you can do is add in your agent, give it the instructions you want. It has a helpful little AI writing tool. You can include chat history, select your model, reasoning effort. You can call tools, select the output format, and then you have some more advanced settings down here. Now, what I am going to be using this for is I'm going to make a little internal tool that calls to our worksheets that we use for the coaching consulting business and uses that as its knowledge base. That way you can get structured, or you can get more contextual outputs just based on the basically what we teach ourselves. I think that would be a helpful tool for helping with coaching and consulting related questions within that business. Again, this is going to be a super bare bones internal tool just to kind of get familiar with all of this. I believe this came out yesterday, but that's kind of the use case I'm looking at right now. As time goes on, they will have more model context protocol tools. And if you're not familiar with what that is, I'll pull up an example. Basically, fancy word for connectors. And so this is what allows it to interface with a bunch of other tools and softwares. Right now, there's not a whole bunch, but one key one to look at right here is Zapier. That's key because Zapier has like 6,000 connections. So if you go through Zapier and then to whatever tool you'll need, you can get going right there. But yeah, drop in the comments if you have any ideas of what you would want to build with this. Because right now, it's purely just messing around. If you're running a current business, I would highly recommend setting a timer and like giving yourself a budget for how much time you're willing to spend on messing around with this thing. Otherwise, you'll be like several hours into the rabbit hole without any sort of return. Like if you're doing this instead of your lead gen, focus on your lead gen. But I think it is something cool that's fun to play around with. So let's go. I hid my screen really quick because I'm going to search my files. Let's go trial sales phone dialogue. Upload that. All right, now we can hop back in here. So I'm going to use trial sales phone dialogue as the file to search. Uh-oh. All right, give me one more second. Let me set this up correctly. I'm clicking on Tools, File Search, and I'm going to go to the vector store. I'm going to grab my ID really quick, but I'm going to hide my screen while I do that. So just give me one quick second. I think this thing's only going to improve over time as well. Like, I mean, of course it is. So I'm really excited to see what this will look like a couple months down the road as more people build out those integrations. Uh-oh, getting a bunch of errors. All right, so this is what I'm looking at right now. So it looks like I won't be able to demo this, actually. That sucks. Yeah, All right, let's see if I can just use this the other way. Attach. Yeah, okay. Might just be an issue because it's experiencing high volumes because it's like brand new. But I can show you this little other thing over here, which is their helpful prompting assistant, which is, I want you to act as a business coach, answer the user's questions based only on the stored files. So you throw something like that in on what you want it to do, it'll go through and generate a nice instruction prompt in there. And let's try this one more time. Come on. Nothing. Oh, that sucks. All right, but as you can see, you get this big old beautiful prompt. That way you don't have to do like a bunch of trial and error. It'll at least get you started on the right track. And then for this, I'm going to say use dummy data. That way I can at least show you what the preview looks like. And then the other cool part is these built-in guardrails that you can do. So that way you can build in some safeties. So as you can see, we have the guardrails module, and you can basically trigger this thing to not continue if any of these are mentioned in that prompt that gets sent in. So if somebody is including their email, hard stop. If somebody's including their phone number, hard stop. Their name, hard stop. Outside of that, there are ones for moderation on like sexual content, that sort of thing. This one prevents jailbreak attempts and hallucinations right here, which would go based off of your files that you store. But again, that is not working right now. And then basically, if it passes, you can route it to the agent. If it fails, you could route it to another branch right there. All right, so this is good. Now let's take a preview. I'll show you this, and then we'll wrap up. Tell me how to close a deal if they say they can't afford it. So you send in your prompt there. Then it's querying the agent. And then you'll see the reasoning that it's going through as it's going through. Okay, and then we're getting a error because I told it to use dummy files. But you can see that's kind of what the chat interface looks like. I've only messed around with this for like 30 minutes this morning, but I saw that it was new, so I wanted to share. Again, I will link that document explaining the whole thing in the comments down below. But yeah. Outside of that, 581, I believe I already threw that in here. Yep, right there. Yeah, that's it for today. I will see you lovely folks tomorrow.